Hello again, everybody. This is still Mrs. Keel. That is my face right there on the screen. I switched computers, so it looks a little bit differently. But this third step that I'm going to show you is how to resize your photos in Photoshop for anything on the web, like your blogs or eventually to the fhntoday.com site if you need to do that, or any galleries that you put up. Depending on what you use, the size of your photos are often too big to be supported by most websites. So I'm going to show you guys how to resize those really quickly on Photoshop. So again, this is step 3, so you should already know how to log into the server. You should know how to make your folders and access your folders, and also how to get your photos from your SD card to the computer. So I'm assuming you've done all of that already, so I'm going to go straight to my photos and I'm just going to show you how to resize these using Photoshop. Before we get there, you should know that you should have on your dock down here, remember this is your dock at the bottom, you should have a Photoshop app at the bottom. It's a square and it says PS on it, obviously meaning Photoshop. If you do not, just go ahead and click on your Finder. Come in here to Applications and find it on here. It'll be under Adobe Photoshop. And then you just need to take the top one of those and click and drag it. I'm not going to do it because mine's there, but you click and you just drag it down here to the bottom on your dock and drop it, and it'll show up there for you next time, so it's easy to find. Okay, so resizing our photos, I'm going to go ahead and go into my photos like I've been doing. So here they are. Before I do anything with my photos, the first thing I'm always going to do is make a copy of the original, because you never want to work with the original in case you need it again or in case it gets deleted somewhere else. So for the sake of practice, I'm going to use this first one right here to resize. So I'm going to copy it first. Here's how. I make sure it's clicked here or highlighted blue. I come up here to File. And then I'm going to click Duplicate, and it's going to create one with the same name that's called Copy, and that's the one I want to work with. Okay, so I'm going to take that one and I'm going to drag it down here into Photoshop. So you'll see it because Photoshop will be highlighted. I'm going to drop it. It might take a minute for it to show up for some of you if Photoshop hasn't been opened in a while. And I'm going to show you how to resize this. So there's a lot of tools on here you're going to learn, and there are videos for later on, but here's the resizing. You're going to go to Image, and you're going to go to Image Size, and mine is actually where I want it already, but these are what we're going to be working with right here, these pixels, and I'll talk to you in another video about the difference between these pixels and inches and really what all this means. But for now, you're going to want to make sure this says pixels. Sometimes it changes, but it should already be on pixels. What we want here is for this this width and height to be as closest to 400 by 600 as we can get it. Some of yours are going to have like huge numbers, and you'll see that when you open it in Photoshop for the first time. This one's may have already been resized already, so it's low, but you can change these to anything that you want. So depending on if your photo is horizontal or vertical, you're going to change that width to either 400 or 600. So in this case, my photo is horizontal, which means my width is going to be larger than my height. So I'm actually going to change this to 600. So you'll see that, and then my height's automatically going to change, so you shouldn't have to mess with it. If it was the opposite, so if it was vertical, I would make my width 400. So once that's as close as it's going to be, you're going to click OK. And then you're going to freak out probably because it's either going to get really big or really small, in most cases small. But you can actually use your Command minus and your Command plus key to make that bigger and smaller as many times as you want. So don't freak out when that gets small on you. And then actually, you're going to save this, but before it'll let you save it, it's best if you close all this other stuff in the background, because sometimes there's just too much going on for the computer to save it. So all I'm going to do to save it is I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to click Save. And then it should let me close it by clicking that red X. And then I'm good to go. So now when I go back into, you'll be on the server, but when I go back into those things and I go to my photos, my copy is the one that I'm going to work with, and it should be resized just how I need it to be resized.